Oh boy, do we have a topic for today, people. I'm not going to make this episode very long because it's about a topic that I'm honestly not very passionate about. TV shows. A lot of people love TV shows. I'm not one of them. I'm sorry, and I know this is not a popular opinion. I don't like soap operas. I don't. Like Yellowstone, friggin' what's that one show? Like any show like okay, I'll just use Yellowstone. Yellowstone is just I just don't like. I don't hate Yellowstone. I don't really dislike Yellowstone. It's just not my type of thing. They rely so much on just drama. That's all soap operas are. The only real reason why TV shows are often considered better than movies is because TV shows have more screen time. Like I've heard people tell you that they genuinely don't believe that a single movie, is enough to be able to give a character an entire arc. They genuinely believe movies aren't capable of it. Of course, I heavily disagree, and I don't think TV shows are the only place for it. TV shows are meant to be longer. The thing about them is of course, they have less production value, which is also kind of a negative for me. No offense. I just don't like when you watch Stranger Things season 4. Look, I like Stranger Things. Okay, there's an example of a TV show I like. When you watch season 4, some of the effects in that, it looks more like an animated thing than an actual live action. Because, while, like, even with as big a budget as a TV show could get, it just never looks as good as movies. And that's, of course, because TV shows have less budget, they have less production value, and they rely on more drama. And I just don't find that entertaining. Like, some TV shows are exceptions, like Has Been Hotel, but that's because it doesn't feel like a soap opera. It feels more. It has more to it. Honestly, I'd take Little Einsteins over Yellowstone. That might sound like a joke, but it's because it's not a soap opera. It's just an entertaining little show about classical music and adventures. Okay? Make fun of me all you want. Avatar The Last Airbender. Oh my god, that is anything but a soap opera. That is the pinnacle of TV shows because it's able to tell a long and really good story. Admittedly, I do find Avatar a little overrated because I'm going to be honest. One thing about TV shows, they take frickin' forever. I know a lot of people prefer that aspect, that they get more and more, but I'd rather be able to just sit down and watch an entire story, such as movies, in one sitting than having to watch several episodes at a time, several episodes. Like, trying to get through Avatar is annoying because I'm just watching so many episodes at a time and I'm not even halfway through. I don't really enjoy soap operas because I'm just going to be honest. The reason why, and I keep bringing up soap operas, and I'm just going to say it, to me, the drama never truly feels real. Again, that's just me. Some people probably love soap operas, and you know what? It's fine with me. I just, I much prefer the cinematic aspects of movies. Like, freaking Lord of the Rings. Huge example. Obviously, I'm not a fan of Rings of Power. I mean, who is a huge fan of Rings of Power? It is just a show that banks off of the popularity of Lord of the Rings, and that's it. You can tell that they put a huge amount of budget into it, but it always still has a bit of soap opera to it. Lord of the Rings never has soap opera to it. Not even The Hobbit has soap opera to it. And that's literally taking a relatively short book and making it into 3 long movies. Lord of the Rings, it all feels real. There's no like soap opera-ness to it. It's all real fantasy, and I much prefer that sort of thing. And even when people say, oh, TV shows are better than movies. I'm like, oh yeah? Well, there's a movie series. Like, Lord of the Rings trilogy is about as long as a TV show season. Yeah, 10 hours. Sounds about right. Those are movies. Movies are made to be released in theaters. TV shows are made to be watched on the TV. Which is another thing. Some people don't really like going to movie theaters. Matter of fact, I think at least I'm not sure. It appears most people don't really like going to theaters and would rather watch stuff on their TV at home because well, they probably find it too expensive, or they just don't like going out and they like sitting on their bottom at home, which is fair enough. And that's another reason why they might prefer TV shows, because they don't have to leave. TV shows, to me, will never be able to accomplish what movies can because they never have, like, they can never be as grand. Like, I don't care what TV show. If you look at Raiders of the Lost Ark, no TV show at the time could possibly achieve what that movie did. I'd argue TV shows now could barely accomplish what Raiders of the Lost Ark did 40 years ago. Like, even 40 years later, TV shows can't really compare with movies from 40 years ago. They're always shot well. That's the thing. But they just, even when they're shot well, no matter how well they're made, no matter how good the drama is, there's always the soap opera aspect to it. But except, there are some exceptions. Like, okay, try and use a live action for an example. Let's go back to Stranger Things. In Stranger Things, season 1, there's actually a lot of scenes in that show that I straight up think are very cinematic. Those are scenes that don't belong in a soap opera. They belong in a more cinematic, incredible, grand story. Such as, of course, the scene where the Demogorgon breaks through. Pretty much all the Demogorgon scenes. So much of the mystery behind the Upside Down, which is very well made. Handled secret. Yeah, it's very cinematic in that kind of way. That's why Stranger Things, to me, feels more like a cinematic experience, and that's why I prefer it to most TV shows. Hazbin Hotel, okay, I'll give you this. It never feels like it's that cinematic because the animation is never that incredible. But you know what? At times, it does feel really, like, grand. Even if the animation itself, you can tell, doesn't have that much time and it doesn't have a huge budget. Like, the musical sequences in that, honestly, they are pretty close to being cinematic. Like, Poison, you have Loser Baby, just stuff like that. Hell of a Boss, that has incredible animation as well, even more so than Hazbin Hotel. I personally believe that there are many sequences in Hell of a Boss that could be, like, in an animated movie going to theaters. And, yeah, I think truly that's the true magic of Hell of a Boss and how good its animation is that, yeah, a lot of the time it's rigged and it still feels more TV-ish, but when it gets good, it is just even a lot of movies wish they had animation as good. And that's where TV shows, in my mind, really do spike up and become very much cinematic. For me, the reason why TV shows I'm just never really in the mood to watch, because they're not very cinematic, and I don't love soap operas. There really isn't a very good example of a movie soap opera. Like, I guess you could say The Godfather, but that is still cinematic because of how well it's shot, how the characters act, and honestly, TV shows, I hate to break it to you, they never have the greatest actors. Not saying they have bad performances. They often do have really good performances, like Walter White. That was an amazing performance. But with movies, you have so many incredible actors because they have so much bigger budgets to work with to be able to pay for more prestigious actors. Like, freaking Heath Ledger as the Joker, he would never be in a TV show after that. Ever. You had Robert Downey Jr., he has never and will never be in a TV show. And he's really talented. Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, especially, like, all the Marvel cast, actually. They're really good actors, contrary to what you film snobs believe. And, yeah, like, they're really good actors who, they're too much to be in a TV show. Yes, TV shows do often have really good actors, but I don't know. I don't think they do all the time. Game of Thrones, I'm gonna be honest, I can't think of a single performance that stood out as some incredible performance that made me feel incredible. Okay, I will admit I haven't really seen that much of Game of Thrones, but Stranger Things, right? There is no performance in Stranger Things. Like, they're all overall really good, but there's no real performance that really, like, makes me feel something, like how Heath Ledger would, or how Marlon Brando as the Godfather would. And at the end of the day, yes, TV shows do have more running time. And some people will argue that movies don't have the ability to like really fully establish three-dimensional characters and give them a story. And they'll argue that TV shows can do that rather than movies. I don't agree. I personally think movies can do just fine at creating three-dimensional characters and giving them a full-on arc. And even if you don't have the time in one movie, you could do a duology, or maybe even a trilogy. And look, I'm not saying TV shows are bad, but they're just not really my thing. I aspire to become a filmmaker, not a TV show maker. If I have to make a TV show, I'm gonna be pissed. Because frankly, I know that I'm not gonna have the budget I want. I'm not gonna be able to make anything that I truly want to make, because nothing I want to make is a soap opera. None of them. I don't want to make dramas. I want to make, like, fun, maybe not blockbusters, but, like, movies that really feel cinematic and have cinematic aspects. I don't want none of this soap opera. Like, look, if you love, I know people love soap operas, and nothing against you. This is not my thing. I would not be happy about making a TV show, especially if I'm not given a massive budget. Like, Tim Burton is an incredible director. Wednesday, that's a show that is not in any way cinematic, and yet Tim Burton has made some of the most cinematic movies of all time. Batman, for God's sake. The 1989 one is far more cinematic than Wednesday, and Batman came out in 1989. So, yeah. I mean, let's be honest. Wednesday, there's a good performance right there in a TV show. Jenna Ortega, she carries that whole show, being a really good Wednesday Addams. Everyone else kind of sucks in that show. And you know what? Honestly, I just can't really fully pinpoint why TV shows are like this for me. Like, obviously I said how it's the soap opera and how they're not as cinematic. But even then, I do like some lower budget movies that don't feel as cinematic. Halloween isn't very cinematic. Friday the 13th Part 3 isn't very cinematic. And especially like Night of the Living Dead, that's not very cinematic, and yet they really work. And I feel like it's because they still don't have that soap opera feeling to it. They don't have this feeling that they're a lot cheaper than movies, because they are movies. Yes, Halloween is a low budget movie, but still, like, animated TV shows and animated movies, that's an even bigger example. Like, yes, I like Has Been Hotel, I like Avatar, but like, their animation is of course hindered by their, like, lower budget, considering that they're TV shows. Keep in mind, okay, if you have a 2-hour long movie and you have a 10-hour long TV show, you give them the same budget. If you give the movie, right, $200 million, the TV show gets $200 million, but that's the thing is that each episode, it's much more spread out. So each episode is technically only getting, okay, each 1 hour long episodes, okay? 2-hour movie, 10-hour long TV show with 1-hour episodes, okay? Each episode is getting approximately $20 million. That's not a huge budget for an hour, okay? So, and TV shows never get that kind of budget. Most of the time, if you're lucky, a TV show might get like $100 million, in which in that case, they're only getting $10 million per episode. If you give a movie, like what's a decent movie budget? $50 million. That's a relatively decent movie budget that can produce a relatively decent movie that will be able to make some money. You give the 10-hour TV show $50 million, $5 million each episode, and good God, at that point you're going down pretty low to like Supernatural, where it's just not, they don't have the budgets to create as grand of things as they could, which is why as the seasons went along they had to get much bigger budgets. And it's that's why even low budgets in movies can come off more cinematic than most TV shows, because with low budget movies, most of the budget is going in to one story. With TV shows, they're having to hammer like several budgets to several episodes, and it's complicated because they have to spread the budget out. So some episodes may feel a lot cheaper than others. That's really where it comes down to, is I know this might sound like heresy, it's just, I just don't feel like TV shows can truly accomplish what movies can. And going back to the animated example, this really goes to show, because you look at Fantasia, there is not a single animated show. I don't care what you bring up, I don't care what you tell me. I don't care if there's some anime, because animes are really beloved and really have great animation. There's not a single TV show, anime, cartoon, what have you, that has better animation than Fantasia. And Fantasia came out 84 years ago. And it has better animation than Has Been Hotel, which isn't even a year old. Has Been Hotel, of course being a TV show, that immediately makes the animation far worse than a movie. And look, I'm not saying that's a really bad thing, because the animation in Has Been Hotel is really good, especially considering it's a TV show, and especially considering the little amount of time and the relatively low budget Amazon gave them. But the thing is that no matter what TV show it is, it's not going to have as great animation because they have to run it over several episodes. That's several hours of making really good animation, where most movies don't even end up being 2 hours. Fantasia is 2 hours, which is kind of surprising if anything, but like when you watch Fantasia, there's so many moments that if any of those moments really ended up in a TV show, you'd be like, how? Like the Night on Bald Mountain sequence in that movie? Dude, if a TV show had a sequence that was that well animated, it would be an anomaly. And I don't care about, like, you're going to bring up some animes that are really good. Look, I've seen animes that have really good animation. But the ones I prefer, ironically, are anime movies. Spirited Away, in my opinion, has far superior animation than any anime TV show. And that movie is 22 years old. Actually, no, 23 years old, because it's 22 in America, but it came out 23 years ago in Japan. And, once again, that's not a bad thing, because as long as the TV show animation is good for the TV show, I think they succeeded. Avatar: The Last Airbender. Nothing compared to Fantasia, but Fantasia's a movie with a high budget. Avatar doesn't have the most massive budgets, so, if anything, Avatar is still really impressive for how good it does look. And you know what? Honestly, despite anything anyone might say, I'm not the biggest fan of TV shows, and that's not a bad thing, really. Yes, they're shorter. Yes, they can't really be too much fluff to them because, well, they have more opportunities for storytelling. But that's actually another thing, is that a lot of times there are TV shows that should have been movies. I don't care if you say that the TV show will have a better chance for making, like, characters three-dimensional, having more story. Some TV shows genuinely are too long, and they would work a lot better with a more simple and short story. Huge example of this would be Moon Knight, Obi-Wan, pretty much most Disney Plus shows. I'd actually argue Loki would have been a lot better if it was a theatrical movie. For one thing, because all three of those shows, they have far less budget, so when they try to accomplish big effects, they look pretty bad, if anything. Where if they were a movie, the effects would look a lot better. And you know what? I don't think anyone can deny that freaking Miss Marvel has way inferior animation and effects compared to any Marvel movie. I don't care what Marvel movie it is. And at the end of the day, it is what it is. I'm not the biggest fan of TV shows, but I don't think that's a bad thing. Personally, I do like TV shows. They're just not as cinematic. The soap opera just doesn't really work for me. And that's not the most fair thing to say, of course, because TV shows, like I just went on, don't have as big budgets, so they can never be as grand as movies. No animated TV show will ever be as good as Fantasia in terms of animation. If Hazbin Hotel were a movie, it probably would have had way better animation. It'd probably have incredible animation that could stand up to Fantasia. But it's a TV show, and it works better as a TV show, so yeah, that's how it is. When you look, My Little Pony, it went from a TV show with pretty good animation to a movie with really good animation. You could tell they had a much bigger budget to be able to create much more camera angles, better lighting than in the show. And it looks so much better because it's a movie with a bigger budget. That's really the reason why I won't really be covering TV shows, because I don't love them as much, because at the end of the day, even the best ones always have this, they're not as cinematic, and they always have this soap opera feeling to it. And even the not soap opera TV shows are just never cinematic. So that's really how I feel about TV shows, and hope people aren't too mad at me for that take. See y'all next episode.